Sale of Ignorance really wants to come on and talk to me about stupid people. All right, if you want to, sure. Let me go get a bowl of cereal and you can do it, okay? Oh, Bad Bunny's doing Stardew Valley. Oh, shit. We did it, boys. You better take these relationships in-game really fucking seriously because you will be judged based on who you pair off with as your waifu.
Holy shit.
I'm just giving you a heads up. Be careful. Good luck.
Holy shit. Okay, thanks.
All right. What do you want?
Oh, hey. I'm Sale of Ignorance, right?
Yeah. Can
you hear me?
Are you? Wait, type in chat right now.
Okay, I did.
That might have been a coincidence. Type A1724X, capitals. Hello? You're a fucking... No, I'm just fucking... Go ahead. What's up?
I didn't get the capital, sorry. I typed in. Yeah, so I'm a grad student at MIT. Not to brag, but I'm just saying I deal with every day undergraduates, I teach them, who are very ignorant, but also very arrogant, right? So this is, I think, the type of person you deal with every day.
Yeah, I agree. What, I'm eating a bowl, sir, sorry. What is your, what was your undergrad in and what are you doing for graduate work?
Undergrad, I was chemical engineering at an Ivy League university. Graduate, I'm currently environmental engineering. So it's
hey,
like
Destiny,
I do transport of pollution and stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha. All right. What do you want to do with your degree? I'm just curious. Or how far do you want to go in school? What do you want to do for work?
Oh, sure. I'm probably going to work for the government for 2 years. The government funds most of the anti-pollution efforts. Like they actually fund cleaning up sites.
Our credo is the need for more LEGO.
And so my thesis is based around trying to show that the best way to clean up sites, right? So a way that both is protects people who are in danger, right? So like local people or like a lot of times it's Native Americans. And also is cheap, right? So because it's cheap, people who are on the hook, people like big industry, whatever, will pay for it. They're willing to, or at least willing to have the least amount of like legal liability.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, so I deal with arrogant undergrads every year, and basically a lot of the people I see you talk to are pretty much arrogant undergrads that I see, right? So they think they're very smart, they think they're skeptics, but they're really dumb in what they don't know, right? So I think the key is to expose to them what they don't know.
So, sorry. So sometimes I do this. Did you see my conversation with the guy last night? When we talked about some of the trans issues?
The idiot? Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to do that with him when I asked. I don't usually like to do this because I feel like I'm putting people on the spot. But like I asked him, like, what is gender dysphoria? And he failed to define it even after I gave him the definition. I feel like doing that doesn't help. I feel like it just makes people more angry or whatever, or like it feels condescending. And I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. So I think asking people for their definition is really good. Also, for the chat, I have a voice issue. My vocal cords got literally scarred at one point. So I'm sorry if I'm talking fast, but you talk fast too. So
yeah. That's ignore the chat. Trust me. Ignore the chat. Okay. Go ahead.
Don't worry. Yeah. So for people like I don't know what to call them. The Tuesday Night Idiot. For like the Tuesday Night Idiot, you need to like barrel down on what he is missing, right? So he'll never probably admit on stream what he's missing, but if you can box him into a corner and have him like essentially dodge the question, you win, right? So if you have him define gender dysphoria like he did, and then have him define it again, and you ask him like, can you not see the difference? He will probably talk about something else.
So what do you think with the Dankula guy? What should I have asked or done differently? What do you think?
Oh, sure. Have Dankula define what free speech means to him. So I feel like with Dankula just asked you really specific hypotheticals about your hypotheticals, like real life examples about free speech. But you never asked him real life examples, right? So at one point, Dankula said it's totally fine for companies to fire their workers for whatever reason. And then later on, he was defending James Damore, which is like obviously contradictory. So you need to have Dankula define the difference to you, or at least to the audience, and then grill Dankula on that, right? So it's clear Dankula is not a free speech absolutist. So you need to like I don't know, suss out what the bounds of his free speech is.
I understand, because then that gives me a platform from which to attack inconsistencies. I can't attack an inconsistency if I don't know his primary view, like he was trying to do to me. If I would have gotten a specific definition from him, I could have tested that when he was giving me examples as well. Sure.
Right. I feel like you didn't do that enough in that particular talk, right? So Dankula was willing to grill you, and occasionally Dankula like retreat to like type stuff, or I don't know, he clearly was dumb about certain things. So if you had turned it around and said, "Hey Dankula, like do you think I'm being sued for defamation? Do you think that's a good thing?" And then Dankula would have to explain why it is or isn't, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, I understand.
Yeah, so I guess in general, when talking to idiots or when talking to people that you think are obviously contradictory, have them explain the contradiction, or at least have them attempt to explain the contradiction. Like basically, I even think Dankula said this at one point, like let people hang themselves.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess I don't necessarily disagree. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just a general criticism. So when I deal with arrogant undergrads who think they know everything, it's best to let them hang themselves. So if you ever feel like you're, I don't know, like dealing with an idiot, just like let the idiot explain themselves, because the idiot will eventually come to something that's really dumb or something that you fundamentally disagree on, which is a good thing.
Gotcha. And since I've already made him clearly state his view, you can't really retreat from it.
Exactly. Yeah, and also, like, I don't know, in terms of, like, social media or clipping or whatever, like, the guy has to explain himself rather than you explaining yourself. I mean, I think it's really good that you take some time to explain your views on free speech, like have these little tirades where we all spam Godstiny in the chat, please. But you should have them explain their views, because then they have to defend that in the long term.
Gotcha, I understand. Okay, sure. I think I normally try to do that. I'm not used to talking to people that are so aggressive in their questioning.
Right.
I guess when I talked to like did you ever hear my original debate with the Sinatra Says guy, the guy that moderated this?
Yeah, I did.
I think I was asking more questions there, but I think every time I asked a question, he would just answer it in a way that was just so dumb. Like at the beginning of this debate, when I asked, so for instance, at the beginning of this debate, I asked him if he thought, I asked Dankula, do you think that watching videos is a good way to gather data? And he legitimately says yes. When somebody says that, I feel like I'm so many levels ahead of them that I have to back up. Like where do you even start with something like that? Like this is literally like a 2-hour discussion on human, like pattern recognition bias and seeing pattern. Like how do you even do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I think Tau Alpha threw up something. This is not to say you shouldn't be condescending. I think condescension works in a lot of circumstances. But if you think you have a point that is like Sinatra or someone could legitimately accept, you need to transition to being like a teacher mode, right? So a teacher is very accepting of ignorance. A teacher is very blah, blah, blah. And obviously, like, you're not attempting to influence Sinatra, really. I mean, you kind of are, but not really. But it's the people who agree with Sinatra right now, right? So you have that, what is it, the 20-40-40 rule? This is a way to dip into his 40. So you say, like, oh, hey, Sinatra, I kind of understand what you're saying about, like, everyone has a choice, right? Like, that's true. But...
Sure. I feel like there's a little bit of a difference with you being a grad student. You're teaching, like, I feel like this would be different if you were an undergrad to an undergrad, don't you think?
Maybe.
Because, like, if these people were, like, if I was having a conversation with somebody who, because, like, so for instance, I hate saying this, but, did you see my debate with Amos E, the pedophile dude?
Yeah, it was good.
Or my debate with Vegan Gains?
Yes.
These are people where I feel like I could give them something and they would engage with it. I feel like for people like Tonka Saw, Tonka Trucks, or Count Dankula, or Brittany, I feel like I'm not sure.
Sure. So that's actually the reason why I wanted to talk to you, right?
Yeah.
So when you're a graduate student teacher, you don't have a choice of who you teach, right? So you have like people like I don't know, like Asmongold who will consider what you're saying, and then you have people like Tonkasaw who are
provide no consider. It's like you're just speaking into a wall, and then they'll go back and hammer their whatever rhetoric they were working on before. They'll just redo it, like that's it, without any consideration for what you say. Yeah.
Right. But as a teacher, I have to take both people in, and my job is to teach all of them, right? So I give some meat to people like Asmongold, where I just say, like, I spit some data or whatever, and then to people like Tonkasaw, I'm like, I assume so. Okay, so I don't know about Tonkasaw, because Tonkasaw, oh my god. So with a person like Tonkasaw who I see potential in, I'll be like, okay, hey Tonkasaw, I kind of get where you're coming from, right? So, but I think it's kind of weird. Okay, can you explain to me why you think X means Y, right? And hopefully, as long as he's not Tonkasaw, he'll have a reason for believing something, right? I feel like most ignorance.
Can we do like a sample of this about the agency meme? I believe that everybody can just make better choice. This is my view, okay? Secretly, my view is that I believe that everybody can just make the right choice, okay? All right. So let's do this conversation. We're arguing about, you just told me some statistics that mean that black people are disadvantaged in the United States, okay? Now, my retort is, well, listen, I think that black people in general, we should just encourage them to make better choices.
Okay, listen, Tonkasaw, I understand, right? So why do you think black people are making bad choices?
I don't know. Maybe it's their culture.
Okay, what do you mean by culture? Like, is it the music they're listening to?
Like the music that they make, the way that they act in gangs and everything. I think that, their culture is really bad, and they make a lot of bad choices, and they need to stop doing that. Okay,
cool. That could be true, right? So they listen to bad voices. Why do you think they're attracted to bad voices?
I don't know, because their parents don't help them. Their parents don't give them good things because their family unit is broken, because all of them have out of wedlock birth and everything. They choose to listen to this horrible music and stuff, and it just messes their whole lives up.
Hold on, Tonkasaw. Do you think like no one's redeemable? Do you think that like there's no way to reach this black person? Like
on the contrary, I believe people are redeemable. You're the one that doesn't. You're telling me they can't make these choices on their own. I think black people can make better choices. You're the one telling me that you don't think they're capable of doing it. You want to change the environment. I think that black people can make the right choice to rise above their circumstances, like so many have done in the past.
Okay, so hold on, back up for a sec. Do you think I'm making the deterministic argument that like the overall trend is something, or do you think I'm trying to reach these kids?
I don't know what you're trying to do. I just want black people to make better choices, just like white people can make good choices. They do already.
Okay, I'm trying to reach these kids, right? So I'm trying to argue, how do I reach black people that like have bad culture or whatever, like no bully, whatever.
It's not our job to reach them. We don't have outreach for white people. Why do we need outreach for black people? Why do you think black people can't make the same good choices that white people make?
We do have outreach for white people.
Not really. I don't know any white kids that needed inner city programs in order to keep them out of gang violence and stuff. White people don't seem to get involved. They don't kill. There's not programs telling white people not to kill each other with gang violence. Why do we need that for black people?
We need it for all people who have this shitty mentality that I don't know, like.
But we don't have it for black. We don't have it for white people. Why do we need it for black people?
We do. That's dumb. We do.
Like what?
We have this for any kind of, I don't know, what's your stereotype you're talking about, right? So you have some stereotype that's inner city kids versus outer city kids, rural kids. Do you think rural kids don't become doctors because their music is better? What?
I don't know why rural kids become. Some people choose to become doctors. Some people choose not to become doctors. I don't know why people make the choices they are. I just want rural kids aren't shooting each other like black people are in the inner cities.
I don't know. Like rural kids shoot meth and sit around. Do you think rural kids are on the same level as urban black kids?
I don't know. I don't have a problem with shooting meth as long as they're not shooting each other like black people do.
Sorry, I had to laugh at that. Hold on. Holy fuck! What was I arguing for?
I don't know, but I think black people can make choices, and you seem to think they can't. You're telling me that black people can't make the right choice, even though white people make it. You want to make all these special programs to target black people. These programs don't target white people. Why do you think black people need all this help that white people don't need? You kind of sound like the racist to me.
No. I want to reach out to every person who doesn't think they can make it. I don't care about the color of the skin.
Well, then why are you advocating for programs for inner city blacks? Why aren't you advocating for these same programs for white people? And who would even pay for these programs for white people? They don't kill themselves like black people do.
I'm advocating for any kind of like mal-education.
Okay, I just never see liberals talking about how white people need this help. It's always targeted towards black people and minorities.
Nope, you've been reading the wrong liberals. Let's look at some stuff.
Yeah. This is hard, right? It's a...
No.
And I'm even being like somewhat honest with you, but these are hard. When people are this fucking stupid, it's a really fucking hard conversation.
No. So what I always try to do is bring it back from like some kind of like compassionate level, right? So like why? Like,
yeah,
so
but these people have no fucking compassion. These people celebrate Lawrence Southern blocking fucking dead immigrants being like voted in from like these people have no compassion. That's the problem.
Sure. So maybe not compassion, but you can always bring it back to the individual level, like right. So like why shouldn't my program, which I'm advocating to black people, also work for poor rural whites?
Because poor rural whites don't kill themselves like black people do. They aren't shooting each other like they are.
No, they're shooting up, right?
Sure, but I don't know if dealing with meth is that big of a problem. Maybe I'm a libertarian and I'm okay with drugs. If they want to do meth, that's fine, as long as they're not killing each other.
I mean, if you're a libertarian, that's cool, but you're also allowing people to be killed, so let's not do that.
Okay, yeah, I guess if you want to make programs to solve inner city, or if you want to make programs to solve rural meth things, I guess that's fine, but...
Yeah, fuck me, right?
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're not hurting other people.
And anyway, so this whole approach, I think we kind of play acted, right? Was
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's predicated on reaching out to their core beliefs, right? So if they're kind of like they believe that like agency is a thing, you should appeal to agency, right?
Yeah, but the problem is it's not a thing, and if you appeal to agency, you always lose. This is kind of like, this is my problem when I'm talking about, like, I don't think you can appeal to agency. You have to peel back that. You've got to go really deep. If a person legitimately believes these things, you've got to run so far back. Like, fuck, your ability to make good decisions is compromised even if you're fucking tired. You know, like, these things are shown to have, in actual experiments, are shown to have detrimental impacts on your ability to make good decisions. You know, like... But like you've got to cover like 2 hours of ground in order to deal with these people.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of a rhetorical strategy, it would be like, okay, like someone proposes that everyone has free agency, and so you force them to explain your hypotheticals, right? You essentially force them to assume the position I just assumed, where you just bring up all these different examples, right? And so they are forced to explain why poor white people are doing things versus poor black people, and they have to kind of expose themselves for the like uninformed idiots they are.
But then when I try to do this with Sargon, he just retreats back to the I don't know, you tell me. You're trying to, because that's what I was trying to get Sargon to admit. Because what I wanted Sargon to admit was, and that was actually my specific goal, I want you to tell me that black people are inferior to white people when it comes to making choices. That's what I want, because that's the only thing that your position logically leads to, Sargon. But he would never admit that. He goes, well, I don't know what the answer is. Because every time I say, okay, so I would say, like, why are black people having this problem? Well, because they don't get married. Why don't black people get married? Well, because they don't make the choice for me. Okay, why do white people make the choice and black people don't? Well, I don't know, Destiny. You tell me. Like, blah, blah, blah.
Sure. So you have to pin Sargon on his like assertion, right? So Sargon asserts that like as long as they make better choices, they will like be better off. And it's like, well, okay, like is marriage like causal or correlated, and is it vice versa, right? So
but then I have to go into like I have to go into like data interpretation, because like Sargon would show me a chart
which
saying,
is great, right? It's a philosophical basis, right? So you need to bring Sargon back to this level of having him explain himself. Right?
Yeah,
so
but like even at that, like when we talked about graphs and shit, he's like, married black people are more successful than single black people, which is true. But he doesn't understand that being single and getting married doesn't magically move you to that category, because he doesn't know how to read a graph. He doesn't know how to interpret data. He thinks that column A is one thing and column B is another. He doesn't understand that doesn't mean you can say that if A becomes B, it will take on the same characteristics, and that the data doesn't support that.
Right. So you need to suppose the anti example, right? So it's like, okay, are you sure it's not if people are better off, they get married more? And then Sargon needs to explain that. So it's always about pushing the burden of explanation onto the other person.
It's just hard because they can explain all of this. Like he'll say like, well, no, when people get married, things are better. Because like Ben Shapiro has his whole retarded 3-part argument for how to be successful. It's like, don't have a kid. But have you heard this before? Are you familiar with this? Yeah. That like go to college, don't have a kid. Yeah. And he doesn't realize that all of the things he's talking about are symptoms, not like precursors, right? Like getting married is a symptom of being somewhat successful. Like that's who gets married. You don't become, you're not unsuccessful, and then you get married, and then you become successful. In fact, the little bit of data that I said that getting married might be detrimental to long-term earnings or whatever, but that's like a totally different thing. But like, yeah, like, so we ran into this problem again where their entire worldviews are constructed on just being stupid, right? Like, if somebody believes that they can look at a chart and come to that conclusion, then we're back where I said before, where it's like, okay, well, now I have to explain to you why this chart doesn't actually say what you think it is.
Yeah. So I mean, at some point you always bump to the guy. I forget what it was. Some guy gave you the or you explained to him the correlation between being the member of a country club and being rich, right? So it's clearly not.
That was, I think, the Sinatra guy. Yeah.
Was it Sinatra? I feel like it was some other.
I think so, because we did. I went on for like an hour trying to explain how your ability to make choices is heavily modified. Well, I believe completely controlled by your environment, and I gave example after example after example. Yeah, and by the time we'd gone through all of that, he asked me a question like, "What is your goal for society?" And I said something along the lines of like, well, my goal is I want to empower people to make the best decisions possible. And then he laughed at me, and I was like, what's so funny? He's like, well, I'm glad I finally got you to admit that freedom of choice is a real thing. And it's like, ah!
So with the Sinatra example, I feel like with Sinatra, he was actually making a halfway decent point, and that is determinism is not incompatible with like the appearance of choice, right? So
well, but I know that, but that no, I'm not going to give you this one. That was not the point that Sinatra was making. Sinatra was not making this point that like, oh, well, the illusion of choice can exist inside of a deterministic system where like that's not what he was making. Like,
right, but I feel like you didn't press him enough on the fact that like he argued again and again like both could be true at the same time, right? So you could have said yes, but yours is uninteresting and is actually subsumed by my choice. So you need to explain to me why that free will exists, or you need to explain to me why having a choice defies all of these trends, and then it's up to Sinatra to explain that shit.
The example that I always give, and you might have heard it on stream before, is like when you're doing Hearthstone stuff or you're doing like poker stuff, like if you ask somebody like in poker, like what are the statistical chances that the next card coming up, what are the chances that the next card coming up is going to be like a 4 of spades, and like the person answers 50-50 every time, and you're like, what do you mean? Like, and I'll show you all the math, like this is why like there are 52 cards in a deck with one card left to come, and you're only looking for a single out, you're looking at about a 2% chance to, and they'll be like, okay, well, it either happens or it doesn't. It's a 50-50 coin flip. And it's like, I don't know how to...
Sure. Yeah. So I guess my point with all this is by constantly moving the burden of proof to the other person, or moving the burden of explanation to the other person, you will inevitably alienate their audience, right? So some 40% agrees with them right now, right? Like black people just need to get married. But if you have Sargon explain why that's the case, some fraction of that 40% will be like, what? No, what the fuck are you talking about? And then reassess and whatever. So the entire way to push your 20% to 25 or 30 or whatever is to have Sargon or idiots explain themselves, right? So if idiots explain themselves, people will fucking disagree.
Okay. Yeah, I was aiming for that in the past a little bit, especially when I was in that 1-on-5. I kept asking people to like explain their position, but that was usually just so I could hang them on something.
But so I feel like in general you did that really well, but with Dankula you didn't. Dankula just grilled you, and
I think it's because he was talking a lot. He was like hammering those questions, but I should have fired back some questions for sure. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, that was my main point. Anyway.
Okay. Well, thanks for the conversation, buddy. I appreciate it.
Cool. Cheers, mate.
Bye.